I bought my bus ticket to New York. The bus was leaving at 10. I had 4 hours to gig Hollywood alone. First I bought a loaf of bread and salami and made myself 10 sandwiches to cross the country with. I had $1 left. I sat on the low cement wall in back of a Hollywood parking lot and made the sandwiches using a piece of flat wood I found on the ground and cleaned to spread the mustard. As I labored at this absurd task, great puig lights of a Hollywood premiere stabbed the sky, that humming West Coast sky. All around me were the noises of the crazy Gold Coast city. And this was my Hollywood career. This was my last night in Hollywood. I was spreading mustard on my lap in the back of the parking lot John. I forgot to mention that I didn't have enough money for a bus ticket all the way back to New York, only Pittsburgh. I figured to worry about that when I got to Pittsburgh. My sandwiches under one arm and canvas bag in the other, I strolled around Hollywood a few hours. Whole families that had driven from the country in old jalopies went putt, putt, putt across Sunset and Vine, their eager faces searching everywhere for movie stars. All they saw was other families and other jalopies doing the same thing. They came from Oakey Flats outside Bakersfield, San Diego, Fresno, and San Bernardino. They read movie magazines. Little boys wanted to see Hopalong Cassidy conducting his great white horse across the traffic. Little girls wanted to see Lana Turner in a deep embrace with Robert Taylor in front of Wayland's. The mothers wanted to see Walter Pidgeon in top hat and tails, bowing at them from the curb. The fathers, gaunt, crazy jalopy Americans, scented money in the air. They were ready to sell their daughters to the highest bidder. On the sidewalk, characters swarmed. Everybody was looking at everybody else. It was the end of the continent, no more land. Somebody had tipped the American continent like a pinball machine, and all the goofballs had come rolling to L.A. in the southwest corner. I cried for all of us. There was no end to the American sadness and the American madness. Someday we'll all start laughing and roll on the ground when we realize how funny it's been. Till then, there's the lugubrious seriousness I love in all this. Dawn, my bus was zooming across the Arizona desert. Indio, Blythe, Salome, where she danced. The great dry stretches leading to the Mexican mountains in the south. Then we swung north to the Arizona mountains, Flagstaff, Clifftown. I had a book with me I stole from a Hollywood stall, but I preferred reading the American landscape as we went along. Every bump, rise, and stretch in it mystified my longing. In inky night we crossed New Mexico immersed. At gray dawn, it was Dalhart, Texas. In the bleak Sunday afternoon, we rode through one Oklahoma flat town after another. At nightfall, it was Kansas. The bus roared on. I was going home in October. Everybody goes home in October. In Wichita, I got off the bus to hit the head. There was a young man in a loud Kansas herringbone suit saying so long to his minister father. A minute later, I saw an eye watching me from a hole in the john as I sat. Note was slipped through. I offer you anything on this side if you will put it through. I caught a glimpse of a loud Kansas herringbone suit through the hole. No thanks, I said, through the hole. The sad Sunday night for the Kansas minister's son, what Wichita doldrums. In a small Kansas town, a clerk said to me, "There's nothing to do around here." I looked down the end of the street at the infinite spaces beyond the last tumble shack. We arrived in St. Louis at noon. I took a walk down by the Mississippi River and watched the logs that came floating from Montana in the north, the great aphrodisiac logs of our continental dream. Old steamboats with their scrollwork more so scrolled and weathered by weathers, sat in the mud inhabited by rats. Great clouds of afternoon overtopped the Mississippi Valley. The bus roared through Indiana cornfields that night. The moon illuminated the ghostly gathered husks. It was almost Halloween. I made the acquaintance of a girl and we napped all the way to Indianapolis. She was nearsighted. When we got off to eat, I had to lead her by the hand to the lunch counter, and she bought my meals. My sandwiches were all gone. In exchange, I told her long stories. She was coming from Washington State, but she spent the summer picking apples. Her home was an upstate New York farm. She invited me to come there. We made a date to meet in a New York hotel anyway. She got off in Columbus, Ohio, and I slept all the way to Pittsburgh. I was wearier than I'd been for years and years. I had 365 miles yet to hitchhike to New York and a dime in my pocket. I walked 5 miles to get out of Pittsburgh, and 2 rides, an apple truck and a big trailer truck took me to Harrisburg, and a soft Indian summer rainy night. I cut right along. I wanted to get home. It was the night of the ghost of the Susquehanna. I thought all the wilderness of America was in the west, till the ghost of the Susquehanna showed me different. No, there is a wilderness in the east. It's the same wilderness Ben Franklin plotted in the ox cart days when he was postmaster, when George Washington was a wild duck Indian fighter, when Daniel Boone told stories by Pennsylvania lamps and promised to find the Gap, when Bradford built his road and men whooped up in their log cabins. That night in Harrisburg bore me the punishment of the damned, and ever since. I had to sleep in the railroad station on a bench. At dawn, the ticketmasters threw me out. Isn't it true that you start your life a sweet child, believing in everything under his father's roof, then comes the day of the Laodiceans, when you know you are wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked, and with the visage of a gruesome, grieving ghost, you go shuddering through nightmare life. I stumbled haggardly out of the station. I had no more control. All I could see of the morning was a whiteness like the whiteness of the tomb, and I was starving to death. All I had left in the form of calories were the last of the cough drops I had bought in Preston, Nebraska months ago. These I sucked for their sugar. I didn't know how to panhandle. I stumbled out of town with barely enough strength to reach the city limits. I knew I'd be arrested if I spent another night in Harrisburg. Cursed city, bad morning. Where were the mornings of my boyhood vision? What's a man going to do? Life is one irony after another, because the ride I then proceeded to get was the ride of a skinny, haggard man who believed in controlled starvation for the sake of health. When I told him I was starving to death as we rolled east, he said, "Fine, fine, there's nothing better for you. I myself haven't eaten for 3 days. I'm going to live to be 150 years old." He was a ghost, a bag of bones, a floppy doll, a broken stick, a maniac. I could have gotten a ride with an affluent fat man and say, "Let's stop at this restaurant and have some pork chops and beans." No, I had to get a ride that morning with a maniac who believed in controlled starvation for the sake of health. The madman drove me home to New York, and suddenly I found myself on Times Square. I had traveled 8,000 miles around the American continent, and I was back on Times Square right in the middle of a rush hour too, making me see with my innocent road eyes the absolute madness and fantastic career of New York, with its millions and millions hustling forever for a buck among themselves, grabbing, taking, giving, sighing, dying, just so they could be buried in those awful cemetery cities beyond Long Island City. The high towers of the land, the other end of the land, a place where paper America was born. I stood in a subway doorway trying to get up enough nerve to pick up a beautiful long butt, and every time I saw that great crowds rush by and obliterated it from my sight. Finally it was crushed. I had no money to go home in the subway. Ozone Park is 15 miles from Times Square. Can you picture me walking those last 15 miles through Manhattan and Brooklyn? It was dusk. Where was Hunky? I dug the square for Hunky. He wasn't there. He was in Rikers Island behind bars. Where Neil? Where Bill? Where everybody? Where life? I had my home to go to, my place to lay my head down and recoup the losses I suffered and figure the gain that I knew was in there somewhere too. I had to panhandle a dime for the subway. I finally hit a Greek minister who was standing around the corner. He gave me the dime with a nervous look away. I rushed immediately to the subway. When I got home, I ate everything in the icebox. My mother got up and looked at me. "Poor little John," she said in French, "you're thin, you're thin. Where'd you been all this time?" I had on 2 shirts and 2 sweaters. My canvas bag had torn cotton field pants and the tattered remnants of my huaracha shoes in it. My mother and I decided to buy a new refrigerator with the money I had sent her from California. It was to be the first one in the family. She went to bed, and late at night I couldn't sleep and just smoked in bed. My half-finished manuscript was on the desk. It was October. Home and work began. The first cold winds rattled the window pane, and I had made it just in time. Neil would run to my house, spent summer nights that were waiting for me, spent afternoons talking to my mother as she worked on a great rag-rug quilt of all the clothes in my family's for years, which was now finished. Spread on my bedroom floor as complex and rich as the passage of time itself, and then left, 2 days before I arrived, crossing my path, probably somewhere in Pennsylvania or Ohio, to go to San Francisco, of all places in this world, and hunt my missing footsteps there. He had his own life there. Carolyn had just gotten an apartment. It never occurred to me to look her up while I was in Marin City. Now it's too late. I had also missed Neil. I never dreamed that first night at home I would see Neil again, and then it would start all over again, the road, the whirlwind road, more than I ever, in my wildest imaginings, foresaw.